Howdy Cougs! Midterms are coming up, and no, I'm not talking about your tests. You probably already took those. That's right, midterm elections are in less than a week, so to make sure you're informed heading into Election Day, today I'll be breaking down as much as I can from both the platforms of and debate between Texas's current candidates for governor, Republican incumbent Greg Abbott, and Democratic challenger Beto O'Rourke. I'm your host Kyle Magnant, and you're watching UH News. Both candidates engaged in their first and only debate a month ago on September 30th, so we'll be pulling clips from that to show you their positions and fact-check some of the statements that were made. It's not surprising if you hadn't seen the debate, as it was scheduled on a Friday at 7 o'clock, conflicting heavily with Friday Night Football, and it wasn't hosted on a mainstream news network. Before the debate even happened, there was already controversy surrounding it, mainly due to the fact that there would be no live audience inside the venue. Prior to the event, O'Rourke tweeted a picture of the empty auditorium with this caption, which you can pause to read for yourself. Abbott's team has denied the claims made, saying that, quote, the terms of the debate were agreed upon by both campaigns months ago, end quote. However, emails have surfaced between O'Rourke's campaign and the debate organizers suggesting that O'Rourke's team made multiple requests to change various aspects of the debate, which were denied by Abbott's team. Let's start where the debate did, immigration. You probably already know Abbott's views on immigration since he passed a law that bans sanctuary cities in the state of Texas and has allocated more than $4 billion in taxpayer money to Operation Lone Star, which ordered thousands of state troopers and National Guard members to monitor the southern border. Abbott primarily blames Joe Biden for the current surge of migrants at the border and attempts to tie Beto to Biden throughout the debate.
We've been working to respond to the disaster caused by the Biden administration that has caused such an economic burden on these communities. Farms and ranches are run over, communities are disrupted, homes that are invaded. Remember this, just 2 years ago we had one of the safest borders in decades, but under the Biden administration we have more people coming across the border than ever in the history of our country. This is all because of Joe Biden's failure to do the president's job to secure the border. We're only having to do that because of Joe Biden's failure and because it would be the same pathway that Beto would take us down. Speaking of which, he talked about this guest worker program. He could have done that had he won the race for the Senate or won the race for president. That's not a job for governor. The job of governor is have to deal with the chaos caused by the Biden administration and its open border policies that Beto would replicate. Texas law enforcement has seized enough fentanyl to kill every man, woman, and child in the entire country. And this is because of Joe Biden's policies.
Thank you, Governor Abbott. I assure you we have a lot.
O'Rourke, on the other hand, criticized Abbott's alleged lack of coordination when busing migrants to other states and emphasized how he seeks to expand the legal avenues that migrants can take to enter the country. This includes a new guest worker program that allows immigrants to fill labor shortages and reforming Texas's current family reunification system in an effort to speed up the process of legally bringing family members into the country. In response to Abbott's remarks in the debate about immigration, O'Rourke had this to say.
What we just heard from the governor is what we are likely to hear over the course of this debate. He's going to blame people like President Biden. He's going to try to lie about my record, and he's going to distract from his failures, whether it's his failure to keep the lights on in the grid, his failure to address school shootings, or his failure in immigration. We are 8 years into his time as governor, and this is what we have on our border. If you come to this country, we expect you to follow the law. But on our side, we're going to make sure that our laws reflect our values and our interests. And I'm going to work with local leaders, Republicans and Democrats alike, to make sure that we have a Texas-based guest worker program to alleviate shortages that we have in our state for labor demands and reduce inflation and address supply chain issues as well.
Should more money be allocated towards Operation Lone Star?
No, it's clearly failed. The numbers are in. We're seeing not fewer but more engagements at our border. When the governor spent $4 billion of our tax dollars on what has turned out to be political theater for his political career, he promised us that it would deter people from coming to this country. We've only seen more people come. Now they get a bus ride to Chicago or Washington, D.C. or New York. We don't need any more stunts. We need solutions. We need those coming here to follow our laws. We need to make sure our laws follow our values.
Guns have also been a hot button issue this election, with the numerous mass shootings that have happened across the country in this year alone. O'Rourke has been previously criticized on his position on guns, most notably in his failed candidacy in the 2020 Democratic primary, where he said this quote that seems to follow him everywhere he goes.
Hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15, your AK-47. We're not going to allow it to be used against our fellow Americans anymore.
O'Rourke was asked about this specific quote in his debate with Abbott, where he emphasized what his stance would be as governor. O'Rourke looks to protect Texans from gun violence while also protecting their Second Amendment rights by raising the age to buy assault rifles from 18 to 21 and enacting red flag laws, among other things. Abbott looks to stand by his prior positions on guns, including his claims that the issue is one of mental health. He opposed the proposal to raise the legal age, according to him, for, quote, purely legal reasons, and is likewise against red flag laws. O'Rourke questioned how much Abbott really cared about mental health, citing a study that found Texas to be ranked last in the nation for mental health care. Abbott rebutted by claiming that Texas now ranks 27th in mental health care. Of these two claims, O'Rourke's is the one that seems to be true. I and many others who have fact-checked this debate have been unable to find where Abbott may have gotten that statistic, and as far as I found, Abbott's office hasn't responded to any requests for clarification. Abbott has also said that he would make school safety an emergency item during January's legislative session, to which O'Rourke responded with, quote, if it's an emergency, call a special session now. Why wait until the next year, end quote. Here are some relevant clips.
Any attempt to try to raise the age is going to be met with it being overturned. So we need to get to the bottom of what is really ailing our communities, and that is the mental health that is leading people to engage in school shootings, and Texas is already addressing that.
We need change. The governor just talked about mental health care. We are dead last in the nation when it comes to mental health care access, and he took $211 million from the mental health care budget of the state of Texas.
Beto's campaign continues to spew lies and false information. He said two things that are completely false. He said that we're last in mental health care. The fact of the matter is Texas is now 27th in mental health care because of funding that I provided. Texas has provided more than $25 billion for mental health care in the last 3 sessions.
It's clear to me that the only place that an AR-15 or an AK-47 makes sense is on a battlefield. But as governor of the state of Texas, I need to be focused on what we can get done. Raising the minimum age of purchase to 21, we can get that done. A red flag law, we'll get that done. Universal background checks, we will get that done. We'll make progress and take action where this governor has failed.
This is going to be an emergency item. Over the summer, I requested special legislative committees to begin working already so that they will have ready when we begin the session to address Uvalde, but the broader-based issue across the entire state of Texas,
if it's an emergency,
as you
call a
mentioned
special
earlier.
session now. Why wait till the next year? We know that there were 91 DPS troopers for whom he is responsible who were on the other side of an unlocked door, some for more than 70 minutes. There is a complete failure to hold people responsible accountable. Those families still do not have justice. As governor, I will make it my priority.
Abbott's abortion stance is also pretty well known at this point. He is staunchly pro-life and attacked O'Rourke's pro-choice position. Where he may have fumbled, however, is when he was asked about his claims regarding Plan B. When directly asked whether he thinks Plan B is a viable alternative to abortion, this is how he responded.
Well, it depends on what you mean by alternative. An alternative, obviously, is to do what we can to assist and aid the victim. And that is to help get them medical assistance that they need and the care that they need, but also to know what their options are. They're going to know that the state, through our Alternatives to Abortion program, provides living assistance, baby supplies, all kinds of things that can help them. Also, we've increased funding for prenatal and postpartum care.
Thank you, Governor.
As I said previously, O'Rourke is firmly pro-choice. His website attacks Abbott for leading Texas to rank as the worst state for paternal and maternal care, which is true according to this report from the Texas Medical Association. In the debate, O'Rourke was asked to clarify whether he supports any limit on when a woman can have an abortion. He said that he, quote, seeks to return us to the standard that Texas women want in the first place, Roe versus Wade, end quote. Going on to respond to some of Abbott's previous comments.
I've got to respond to this silliness on Plan B. This comment he made about eliminating rape in the state of Texas, this is an attack on women. More women have been raped in the state of Texas than any other state. There are 3,000 untested rape kits at DPS headquarters, meaning that our ability to bring rapists to justice has declined by half.
Once again, I'm going to be doing this a lot. I have to point out a misstatement by Beto. I signed a law that eliminated the rape kit test backlog at the Texas Department of Public Safety.
Now, that clip actually needs a little bit of explaining. While O'Rourke's claim that Texas has more overall rapes than any other state is true, it's missing some important context, because when you adjust for population, Texas is actually number 15 in the country. O'Rourke also made a claim that there are 3,000 untested rape kits at DPS headquarters, and Abbott responded saying that he signed a law that eliminated the rape kit test backlog. He is referring to the Levina-Masters Act, which was signed back in September of 2019, and according to the Dallas Morning News, quote, by early last year, the backlog of untested kits was down to 6,100. The latest reported figure is about half that, end quote. So Abbott hasn't actually eliminated the backlog. There were numerous other claims made on many other different issues over the course of the debate that need to be examined, and we're running out of time, so we'll quickly run through two of them before we wrap up. One thing Abbott has repeatedly accused O'Rourke of being in favor of is defunding police. The claim seems to originate from a podcast appearance where O'Rourke alluded to redirecting police funds, but O'Rourke has not called for the police to be defunded on that podcast or on the campaign trail. In the debate, O'Rourke took the opportunity to set the record straight on its pro-police stance and compared his record with that of the governor.
Do you support measures to defund police? You have 60 seconds.
Of course I don't, and no one does. But let's look at my record. I think that's the best thing to look at, and then we'll look at the governor's. On the El Paso City Council, I raised police salaries 12% in the 6 years that I served there. In Congress, I funded $11 billion to local and state law enforcement across this country. I want to fund law enforcement, fund training so that everyone is treated equally under the law, and I want there to be accountability for when those officers abuse the public trust. But let's look at what Greg Abbott's done. When police and law enforcement begged him not to sign permitless carry, because it allows anyone to carry a gun in public without a background check, he turned his back on them, did it anyhow. Homicides have gone up 50%, and we now have gun violence as a leading cause of death for children and teenagers in this state.
Finally, on the subject of taxes, O'Rourke made another claim that needs a bit more context. He said that the average Texan pays more than the average Californian, and while that is true for both Texans in the middle 20% and bottom 20% of state salary ranges, for Texans in the top 20%, you'll actually pay less income tax than those in California's top 20%. That's all we got for you today, Cougs. There are still many important issues that weren't even covered, like LGBTQ rights and voting restrictions, but this is the only debate we got for this race, as Abbott didn't accept any more debate invitations. Us here at Coug TV encourage you to look at each platform yourself, watch the full debate, form your own opinion, and get out to vote on November 8th if you're registered. As is the case for any election, every vote counts. I've been your host, Kyle Magnant, and we'll see you next time on UH News.